Hello everyone, welcome back to another Roblox video, and I'm here at Drillbit and Co. And today I'm going to be showing you the rebirth upgrader called the Prismatic upgrader. And as you can guess, it's an upgrader. So its item size is 6x4, which makes it one of the bigger upgraders that we have right now, which is kind of expected since it is a rebirth upgrader. And what it does is that it upgrades your ore differently based on its color. So for red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and neutral, they have different effects. So for red, it's a 3.5 times value upgrade. For orange, it adds $1 million to your ore and then multiplies your current value by 2. For yellow, it just adds a 1 million value. For green, it multiplies it by 1.5. For blue, it multiplies it by 2.5. For purple, it multiplies it by 3. And for neutral, like white, gray, and black, it just sets your ore value to $1. So for the red droppers, we have the ruby dropper, and that's pretty much the only one we have, which is really unfortunate because that's the best value that we can get for the prismatic upgrader. For orange, we have the iron dropper, gold dropper, blink mine, telenium dropper, and the blinked upgrader. For yellow, we have the nuclear upgrader, fire crystal mine. And for green, we have the emerald dropper. For blue, we have the sapphire dropper, the diamond dropper, and the unobtainium dropper. For purple, we have the platinum dropper, the amethyst dropper, and the kunzite mine. For the neutral, which is the ones that you don't want to use, we have the stone dropper, silver dropper, gunnium mine, and the necrotite mine. So the pros that this thing has, the prismatic upgrader, is that it's really available early on. It starts being available to you once you rebirth it twice. So fun fact, I actually got this as my second item, so I basically got it as soon as possible, and it has pretty much amazing value overall, like just in general, obviously except neutral because that one's just pretty much garbage. If you use certain upgraders like I mentioned earlier, it allows you to skip basically a bunch of the tedious work of trying to upgrade your entire plot. So obviously a lot of these things, a lot of the shop upgraders has a upgrade range that it can go to, but using the prismatic upgrader we can just go to like whatever order we want that doesn't have much value but it's really fast. So let's say the telenium mine, if we do this we can instantly get 2 million, and from that 2 million we can like use that, boom, 2 million, we can just buy a bigger plot, so we won't have to build a tiny system. We can just straight up just skip a bunch of the upgraders. And so basically you can use it in the start, in the middle, or at the end of your tycoon. The unobtainium mine, which is the last dropper that you can buy in the shop, is actually quite good with this upgrader because it gets a 2.5 times value. And the kunzite mine, I don't know how to pronounce that one. A rebirth dropper that you can get later on gets a 3 times upgrade, which I think is pretty good. And the cons is that it takes up a lot of space. Obviously 6x4 might not seem a lot to you, but it really is. This is basically 3 conveyor belts worth of stuff. 3x2, just like that. It stops you from using nuclear upgraders unless you have the blinked upgrader, because using the nuclear upgrader is not worth it with the prismatic upgrader, since nuclear upgrader gives you a 2.5 times multiply value, but at the same time you gotta remember that it turns the ore yellow somehow, which would give you a $1 million value, which at that point, when you're getting $200 billion, when you're getting that much money, you can buy nuclear upgrader. Using the prismatic upgrader to get that yellow bonus isn't really a good idea, and it's quite confusing to use, obviously, which is why I made this video. You're gonna have to keep track of what ores, wow, that looks weird, but which ores are good with this upgrader, which is why I gave you the list earlier. And it gives you a 1 upgrade limit, so you can't really upgrade it multiple times. So if you have multiple prismatic upgraders, it's basically just like a one-time use, and that's pretty much it. So you really have to be, where'd it go? Yeah, you really have to be smart with where you place it. It also limits you to certain mines, obviously unless you use the blinked upgrader as mentioned earlier, because some mines are better with the prismatic upgrader and some are significantly worse. So if you decide not to use the Prismatic Upgrader, let's say that's your second item. If you decide not to use the Prismatic Upgrader, you're not gonna get much. You're not gonna get any value out of it at all. But if you do decide to use it, you're very limited on what you can use, because only certain ones are really good with the upgrader. And as you can see, this one, the Ruby Dropper, which is the best effect, 3.5 times value, is only worth 5k, which is really unfortunate. And just quick notes is that I would suggest using this at the end of the Tycoon, because at that point, if you are using nuclear upgraders, you can literally just, you know, not decide to. But if you're using a system that uses either nuclear upgraders, as I said, fire crystal mines, stone droppers, silver droppers, gunnium mines, or even a necrotite mine, I wouldn't really recommend it at all. Just straight up, just don't use it. It's not worth it, because there's definitely better upgrades that would suit your needs. Since you gotta remember, if you're using this for the droppers that only give you like 1.5 times value, you gotta remember you're sacrificing 6x4 worth of area over there, so I really don't suggest that. But if you do really want to use it, I do suggest getting yourself a blinked upgrader right here. It's a 4x3 item, and it basically just lets you get the value for the orange boost, which is just a 2 times value. But if you really want to use it, the Prismatic Upgrader, then this is basically an item that you really need to get. You can either get this by walking around getting crates, opening crates, and unlocking it here. As you can see, I've unlocked quite a few. Oh yeah, I got a rebirth box. Oh, I got that one. But yeah, you either get it by getting crates, or you get it by just straight up buying it with crystal, which I don't really recommend. So yeah, the Prismatic Upgrade is actually really good in my opinion. Oh, another con that I forgot to mention is that you actually need to get this like completely censored, because if, let's say, you're using quarter conveyors, your ores are just gonna straight up go on the side and just completely dodge it. So if you do want to get this like actually use, you're gonna have to go to conveyors. You know, you're gonna have to get a censoring conveyor right here, so it can be censored. Or I guess you could try to like get the big ores. Let's see here, which one's the biggest ore? Platinum dropper. I can't afford it because I'm broke. Let's get 1.5. Let's do 1.5. If you do 1.5, as you can see, it's not even big enough, and it also spawns in the side, which is quite frustrating. So if you do decide to use a Prismatic Upgrader, I really do suggest getting a censoring conveyor with it as well. So basically, you're gonna need a lot of stuff, is what I'm trying to say. You're gonna need a censoring conveyor, a blink upgrader, and that's basically your starter pack on how to make the Prismatic Upgrader at least kind of worth it. But in the end, it's really up to you, and I'm not trying to force you to do anything. So yeah, as a final rating, I'll give it an A, and it won't be an S, just because of how it really limits you on what you can use. But it's also a really good upgrader, just in general, because it's like 3 times value, 2 times value. So yeah, as an overall thing, I'll just give it an A, and yeah, that's pretty much for the tier list. I hope you guys learned something new, and I'll see you guys later. See ya.